this is not the same.
I changed it only Sunday.
Where's the proof to back your claim?
Please, I have not lied. I am a brand new bride. My husband's awaiting, consummating.
Your entry is denied.
Denied betekent daar tegen afgekeurd.
Hier is our stadskaart. You're my race security. Every permit must be signed upside down or you'll be fined. Glory to our stadskaart. You will tear up every razor from my person with a beard. Every woman, child and man from Cantabria is mandatory. Glory to our stadskaart. Well, come here to our beautiful country. Papers, please, or I'll have you thrown in jail. Please forgive, I must put this quite bluntly. On this card, it says that you are a male. Oh, I got that change. I've sent been rearranged. If you're no man, this body scan sure looks a little strange. Surely this could make it all a small mistake. A false alarm and do no harm. I've got some lives to take. In the interest of our stadskaart, impose new protocols. Every migratory right you must now interrogate. Glory to our stadskaart.
Hey,
Yes, you do your back the rebel against the state and its grip upon the land. Vile, corrupt, truly Machiavellian. Join the revolution, now's the time to take a stand. Listen, sir, you seem suspicious and extreme. It's true, my covert goal is to overthrow the whole regime. Which side should I choose? When either way I lose. My occupation, my kids and wife, my aspirations, and my worthless life deny or approve. Cause no trouble. I'm a hooded figure. It's what I do. Next. Papers, please.
Nope. I quit.
Ooh. Nope. I quit. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you're not subscribed, subscribe now. If you are subscribed, click on the notification.
Console Wars.
Today's the day the console war has begun. We're launching PS4 against the Xbox One. We've got the best new games and tons of indie support. You mess with Sony MS, and yes, you'll come up short. Is it? Our console's ready for war. Release the Xbox One to ravage PS4. We're packing Connect 2, and now with Xbox Live, we'll port all gamer scores and unleash Halo 5. We use armed with tech to the teeth. NFC touchscreen and more. No other games claim the same. They were fun. So who would pay more for PS4 or Xbox One? DualShock has a touchpad. People love so much that we've installed a button just to share. Evolving achievements lead us to believe that Xbox One has class to spare. First strike was Nintendo's, battens on the friend codes. Time to finally end those console wars. PS4 will conquer One and Wii U with its renewed support. It misses PlayStation 2. We aren't supporting used games. I mean, I guess they seem fine. They must be playing on the web. Okay, or stay offline. Activate add-ons and lock on party games. PSN servers were hacked again. Deploying NFL, NHL, widgetry galore. Change the name, stay the course, make great games until we win the console wars. Console wars. Wait till they get a load of me. What's up, Encounters? I'm Katie Wilson from the channel Legend of Katie. We want to hear from you. Who do you think won the console wars? Because personally, I think Xbox won, but let us know in the comments. Don't forget to check out Street Fighter High, the musical, and Kill 9 TV, as well as Legend of Katie. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Medic! There's a certain hellish realm reserved for everyone who yells they need a medic. Every evening while I sleep, while I'm busy counting sheep, they all bleed medic. When I'm eating, when I'm reading, or excreting on the dawn, there's no hiding from the screaming in my mind. There's no place in heaven high where I can all the wounds I've ever sealed, all the boo-boos that I've healed, I'm a changed medic. Now these injuries and pyro quickly fade.
Dus logo.
Siehst du den da oben? Siehst du den da oben, der da,
Ja, da unten hat jemand eine Falle
Siehst du den
da?
da?
Ist einer drin.
Oh!
Klippt das.
Alter, und wie ich das klippe!
Are you kidding me? This is like the 5th time this has happened to me. Like, it was happening yesterday as well. Like, oh my word. Every single room I'd go in, it'd have a shotgun in it. It would be put.
10-band water slides you can't ride. Hey there, YouTube. Tell me, what could possibly go wrong on a water slide? They're way slower and more enclosed than roller coasters. Well, usually. Things could happen, like getting stuck, in the dark, and even being slammed into someone 3 times your size. I've experienced that before. Oh, and how could I forget falling off the edge? But hey, there's still a great time. Just ignore the broken bones, the possible monsters living in the tubes, and also the fat guy you collided with. That's why today we're going to tell you 10 water slides that you don't have to worry about riding anymore. Here's 10 bend water slides you can't ride. I can ride it though, I'm awesome like that. Let's begin, shall we? Number 10, Steamer Slide. Barring how dirty this name can be construed, Calypso Water Park in Ottawa, Canada was slammed with 20 charges in 2015 due to safety issues. 9 were withdrawn during the trial, leaving 11 charges remaining. The Calypso Water Park was found guilty of 6 of these charges. These charges mainly concerned a particularly dangerous slide called the Steamer Slide. Now here's how this slide goes. Riders on the steamer plummet down the sled on tubes, and those tubes slipped fairly frequently, leaving several people injured. One person broke her vertebra in 2 places on the ride. Another broke their collarbone. When these injuries happened, the water park failed to report the incidents or shut down the slide. Oh boy, what's this? You got a broken collarbone? I can't feel my face! Hey, walk it off, kid. He's a lollipop. And what about you? I broke both of my legs! Walk it off. Number 9, Aquasphere. Now this one sounds less dirty and more like a Pokemon move. The Aquasphere is part of the Peninsula Aquatic Recreation Center. This slide, which features long, winding paths, has been plagued with all kinds of problems since its conception. These problems usually result in people suffering some pretty intense injuries. One boy was seen thrown out the side of the bottom completely limp after falling off the raft and being bounced around inside the slide. The impacts left him unconscious. After this incident, the slide was closed for investigations into what caused the problem. However, this is hardly the first time the slide has been shut down after an injury. In its past, the slide has severely injured 2 young boys in one incident, and had its pipe burst in another, as well as injured 2 adults who hit their heads on the ceiling of the slide. Even when the ride was first tested by the staff and their families for a private event after first being built, it still managed to injure several people. Number 8, Shoot the Rapids. Shoot the Rapids is a water slide in Cedar Point. Riders get to go down a massive slide while on a raft, with up to 10 people fitting on one raft. The ride was the site of one of the worst injuries and incidents in water slide history. One of the rafts was being pulled to the top of the hill when the ride malfunctioned. The raft was sent hurtling back down the hill before flipping upside down. That meant that 10 people, count them, 10 were stuck in their seats, trapped in the water with no way out. One woman had suffered severe head injuries. There were children on the raft who were scared out of their minds. People rushed into the water and attempted to manually flip the raft back over by hand. If it weren't for these brave people who answered the call, the people on the raft probably would have drowned. Number 7, Black Hole. One of the most infamous water slides in the world is the Black Hole slide at the Wet n Wild Water Park in Orlando. Don't know why I went southern there, but hey, whatevs. It has been the target of several lawsuits, all filed by people who have been seriously injured while riding this death trap. In 2000, a man was awarded $1.73 million after filing a lawsuit pertaining to severe injuries he suffered in the black hole. He was struck by an unknown object while traveling down the slide. When he was ejected out from the bottom of the slide, he couldn't move his legs. He later needed metal plates implanted into his neck. There have been countless other lawsuits against Wet n Wild after injuries sustained in the black hole. One girl suffered injuries after falling off her tube, hitting the bottom. Another person came to a complete stop and was hit hard by the next person coming down the slide. Another girl's tube flipped, injuring her. Kinda seeing a recurring pattern here. The main problem is that the ride takes 23 seconds for a person to complete, but the staff send a tube down every 20 seconds, meaning they don't wait until the first person has left the slide before pushing another person down. Number 6, Insano Water Slide. For our next water slide, we go to Brazil's Beach Park. It's home to one of the tallest water slides in the world. We are, of course, talking about the Insano water slide. This thing is a whopping 41 meters in height. That's the same as a 14-story building, so it was bound to have terrible injuries associated with it. Riders experience speeds of over 65 miles per hour on their riveting way down at the bottom. They say it is so steep that your body barely touches the actual slide. You're in midair for most of the ride. Because of this, it's incredibly important to cross your ankles and cross your arms around your chest if you want to ride this thing. For all the hype, the slide is over in about 4 or 5 seconds. Staff often laugh at people who come out of the bottom of this ride. These tourists are often reduced to tears by the time they get spat out of the bottom of this behemoth. I mean, can you blame them? That's a 14-story building drop. It's terrifying. I mean, what if there's an alligator down there and you didn't know about it? Actually, it'd be a caiman considering it's Brazil, but still, it's terrifying. Number 5, Sahara Sidewinders. The Sahara Sidewinders ride at the Kalahari Resort in Wisconsin Dells has a track record of being very dangerous indeed. It's marketed as the only indoor slide with loops, the first of its kind in America. Oh God. Your water architects were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. I mean, my God, look at that. Indoor loops are just begging for lawsuits. And with this new technology comes new safety concerns. Oh boy, concerns that were ignored by the resort in question, oh no. In 2011, the resort was hit with a lawsuit after a teenage boy was injured while riding the Kalahari Resort. The reason the lawsuit was successful was because it was proved that the Kalahari knew the ride was unsafe but did nothing to fix it. They know this because several other people complained about the ride. These complaints were ignored. Wisconsin Dells has a huge track record of injuries at its various resorts, but this one was the worst. The nature of the slide makes smacking against the surface incredibly common. Excuse me, sir. They're suing us again. I told you not to talk to me when I'm rich. The poor people can stand injuries. Excuse me while I go take a money bath. Yeah, that's about how I imagine it goes over there in that kind of business. Number 4, Cannonball Falls. For the next of our dangerous water slides, we return once again to the infamous Action Park. Having a water park with the most injuries in the state is one thing, but what about the single water slide that has the most injuries in the entire state? That honor goes to Cannonball Falls, the most dangerous ride in the most dangerous park in the most dangerous state, New Jersey. Let's get dangerous. Because of the sheer amount of people who were getting injured on this thing, the park had to shut down in September 2015. The slide ends with a 10-foot sheer drop into a pool. 6 people were severely injured in only 1 season. 5 of these people all suffered the same injury, an injury to the shoulder. The company that operates the park was extremely reluctant to pay for medical treatment for any of Cannonball Falls' victims. Excuse me, sir, they want compensation for their injuries. How dare they? I give them entertainment and they give me money. How dare they want it back? Money. Number 3, the Verrucht. One of the most recent and horrific tragedies to have occurred on a water slide involved a water slide called Verrucht. This water slide is located in the Kansas City Water Park and is the tallest, largest water slide in the world. It's 17 stories high. Remember that argument I made about the other one that's terrifying? That's over 51 meters. Caleb Schwab, a 10-year-old boy, was thrown from the raft and decapitated in August 2016. The boy was very skinny, and many people are saying he shouldn't have been allowed on the slide, which also has a height limit. Verrucht is a German word that translated roughly as crazy. Since the incident, the slide has been rightfully shut down. Now, you know what? Let's go with another German word. The German word of today is unverantwortlich, which translates to irresponsible. Number 2, Geronimo Falls. Geronimo Falls is a slide in the infamous Action Park, a water park in New Jersey where several people were injured, died, or sued the park because of its lack of safety precautions. Kind of a common theme around these water parks. Sounds like fun, am I right? Well, maybe not. Geronimo Falls no longer exists, but when it did, it was considered one of the most extreme slides of all time. This was due to its incredibly stupid amount of steepness. The incline was insane. Today's slides don't even try to match this level of steepness. There's a few reasons for that, actually, but the most important reason they don't make slides this steep anymore is because when you build a slide like Geronimo Falls, people sliding down it actually start flying into the air instead of sticking to the slide's surface. They continued this problem by installing a metal grate over the slide's opening. That meant tons of people slammed into the metal grate and they were bounced back down into the slide, causing severe injuries. People going down this slide experienced speeds upwards of 60 miles per hour. Number 1, Cannonball Loop. It was rumored that this attraction was never actually open to customers, but in 1985, the Cannonball Loop was indeed open for business. During testing of the Cannonball Loop, dummies were thrown in and decapitated. The attraction was adjusted until the dummies came through with heads intact, and then park employees were offered $100 to test it out themselves. Boy, that's great management. Thankfully, no one died on this monstrosity, but some people did become stuck. And before it was closed for good, a trapdoor was installed into the loop to retrieve pinned riders. And that's our video for today. Yeah, I don't think I'll be going on a water slide for quite some time now.
You can probably think of lots of places that are great for swimming. Pools, the beach, even comically small inflatable pools. But in this video, I'm going to tell you about 20 places where you should absolutely, under no circumstances, ever swim. Why? Because I'm trying to keep you safe. Lake in the southern Ural Mountains in central Russia has been called the most polluted place on Earth. During the 50s, when the Soviet Union didn't really care that much about being super safe with how they dealt with their nuclear waste, some of it was just dumped into this lake. Some parts of the lake are so irradiated that they would kill you in an hour if you stuck around. The Russian government has begun filling up the lake with for a place to swim. You better avoid the Ganges River. The Ganges has become so polluted due to India's rapid industrialization that over 600 kilometers of it, equivalent to 372 miles, are ecological dead zones where life cannot sustain itself. Try and not let that life be you. Human and industrial waste is pumped into is not only home to a ton of industrial pollution, but is also the final resting place for about 40,000 cremated bodies every year. So you'd essentially be swimming in a sort of sludge made partially out of dead people. Overall, research confirms this causes a greater rate of cancer and gastrointestinal disease among people living by the The boiling lake in Dominica is probably what you think it is based off the name. A lake that is straight up boiling all the time. This is because underneath the water is red-hot magma, another thing which, like boiling water, does not sound like it would be fun to touch. While the lake actually looks kind of appealing, like it would just be a nice hot spring, in reality, the water is roughly 90 degrees Celsius, actually, and for the most part, it is. The spot is known for its crystal clear water, allowing you to look straight down and see way further than you would in any other lame lake. The dangerous part has to do with the spring series of underwater caves and tunnels that lay underneath. Inexperienced divers who don't fully understand the risk and specialty equipment needed for cave diving in places like this have underestimated the challenge of Jacob's Well at their own peril, and there have been 8 deaths at the site. Number 16. The Nile River. The Nile River is dangerous. Really? Even though in the Prince of Egypt everyone is just chilling in there and leaving babies around? Yes, in reality the Nile is full of Nile crocodiles, who use the clouded water to hide from their prey. Every year, hundreds of people are attacked by Nile crocodiles in sub-Saharan Africa. For reference, there are only 16 shark attacks a year in the United States, so to avoid want to go on your vacation. It may look like any other pristine Hawaiian beach where you can go surfing and wear a grass skirt and whatever, but this is a trap. Underneath, there are very strong riptides that have led to 80 confirmed deaths. The beach is so dangerous that there's even a sign with a death toll marked on it to scare potential swimmers away. Number 14. Bubbly Creek. Bubbly Creek sounds like a pretty nice place. It reminds me of something that would be in the Lord of the Rings, but in the Shire, not Mordor. In reality, Bubbly Creek is the worst part of the Chicago River. The nearby Union Stockyard dumped blood, manure, urine, and various body parts into the river for over 100 years. The bubbles are a result of the decomposing meat, since the river's other population has made sure that there's little life in the river to decompose things. One study found that the layer of animal remains at the bottom of the creek is 3 feet thick. Number 13. Samezin Hole. The Samezin Hole has been described as a black silty hole of death. It is the deepest diving site in the Gulf of Thailand, with a depth of 280 feet. If you really want to dive into this black silty hole of death, so there's always the possibility of bumping into the wrong thing and just blowing yourself up. Number 12. Eagle's Nest Sinkhole. If you were to stand next to Eagle's Nest Sinkhole in Florida, you would probably think that it was just a pond. However, if you were to actually dive down, you would see the shaft that leads to underwater passages, and rooms bigger than football fields. The deepest point is 310 feet below the surface, in 1999. Genuinely spooky sign. Number 11. Kipu Falls. While I would like to be able to warn you about the specific dangers of Kipu Falls in Hawaii, it is actually not known what they are. Several people have drowned there, but nobody actually knows why. Witnesses reported people swimming perfectly normally and then suddenly panicking and going under. Their bodies weren't seen until they were pulled up from the bottom, dead. Some have blamed the mystic water spirit Mo'u. Others speculate that there's just a whirlpool of some kind. Number 10. The Amazon Basin. There are so many reasons you shouldn't go swimming in the Amazon Basin. You've got anacondas, which can stay underwater for 10 minutes. You've got red-bellied piranhas, which could tear you to shreds. You've got electric eels, which can shock you with 600 volts, which, for reference, is 5 times stronger than what you would get from the standard US wall socket. While you've probably heard of those things, you may not have heard of kangaroo, which are tiny fish that swim up your urinal tube. What more reason do you need to never set foot in this water, people? Number 9. Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria in Africa looks like what you would expect a lake to look like, but this is one of the most dangerous bodies of water on the planet, with an average of 5,000 deaths every year. Lake Victoria is so deadly because it has its own mini-climate which causes the weather to change from pleasant to severe in a very short amount of time. Local people have few options other than to try to make a living fishing on the lake, and the unpredictable weather often capsizes boats, leaving them with miles of storm between themselves and the shore. Number 8. Horseshoe Lake. It's not the water itself in Horseshoe Lake, California that makes it so dangerous, but you'd be able to tell that something was up way before you ever get to the shore because you notice that the lake is surrounded by 100 acres of dead trees. A series of earthquakes in 1989 and 1990 caused dangerous levels of carbon monoxide to escape from the Earth's surface and into the air. The area is actually, for the most part, safe. However, the levels of gas can fluctuate without warning, and there have been several asphyxiation fatalities. Number 7. Rio Tinto. Rio Tinto in Spain at least looks as dangerous as it actually is. The water is blood red due to 5,000 years of mining pollution, so hopefully you'll be scared off before you even dip your toe in it. The river is extremely acidic, and in fact is such a strange environment that scientists study it because it is thought to be similar to the conditions on Jupiter's moon Europa. Number 6. Gansbai. Gansbai, South Africa didn't get the nickname Shark Alley for nothing. Obviously, you should not be swimming anywhere that is called Shark Alley unless you are a crazy person. They have so many sharks there, in fact, that it's become a tourist destination for the only semi-crazy activity of cage diving with the sharks. If you're looking for sharks, clearly this is the place to be. While the United States only has 0.2 shark attacks per every million people, South Africa has 0.15 per every million. Number 5. Hoover Dam. You definitely shouldn't go swimming in any dams. To begin with, swimming at places like the Hoover Dam is actually a jailable offense. Electricity. Does that sound like a safe place to swim to you? Just a few months ago, a Welsh tourist, Aaron Hughes, was arrested for swimming across the Hoover Dam. Authorities said he was the only person they knew of that survived such a swim, as others have been sucked into intakes. But there's other things you can get sucked into as well, like bellmouth spillways. Don't those just look like a fun ride? Number 4. Citarum River. The Citarum River in Indonesia is one of, if not the most polluted river in the world. This is largely because 5 million people happen to live in its basin, and people tend to produce waste. Imagine what would happen to a river that ran through your room that you've been avoiding cleaning for the past year, for instance. Nearby textile factories also consider the river to be a great place to dump large quantities of toxic waste, leading the river to become filled with lead, mercury, arsenic, and other toxins. Number 3. Blue Lagoon. The Blue Lagoon in Buxton, Derbyshire has a pH level of 11.3, which probably doesn't mean anything to you unless you're a chemist. Well, the fact that bleach has a pH level of 12.6 should be a big warning sign. On top of being a body of water that's closer to being bleached than it is being something that would come out of a tap, it has an idyllic blue color from caustic chemicals in the surrounding stones. Despite signs warning people of the danger, people could not help themselves from taking a dip in its beautiful waters. It got so bad it had to be dyed black to try to discourage people from swimming in it. If you think about it, that's actually a pretty great idea that a lot of other places on this list could take a note from. The lagoon is also home to abandoned cars, dead animals, and human waste. So yeah, dyeing it black was a good decision. Number 2. Reunion Island. Reunion Island, a French territory in the Indian Ocean famed for its surfing, has recently become the shark attack capital of the world. Remember back when I said that South Africa had lots of shark attacks because it had 0.15 attacks per million people? Well, Reunion Island has 8.28 attacks per million people. The island has seen a record number of 39 attacks, 19 of which were fatal. While no one exactly knows why the island has become such a hotspot for sharks, it has been speculated that it was due to the creation of a marine reef that attracted more fish, resulting in more food for the sharks. Before I reveal the most outrageous example in this list, I'd like to remind you to subscribe to Be Amazed. We upload amazing fact-filled videos every day, so don't miss out on learning some amazing new information. Also, hit that bell icon for notifications on more amazing fact-filled videos. Number 1. The Strid. The Strid in Yorkshire may just be the most picturesque place on this list, and the least threatening looking. It looks like it belongs on a postcard. Unfortunately, it has in reality claimed many lives. It reportedly has a 100% fatality rate for those who are unlucky enough to fall in. The Strid features a brutal combination of fast, invisible currents and underwater rocks for those currents to throw you at. Professor Carolyn Roberts, Professor of Environment at Gresham College, London, has stated that it kills because of its geomorphology, the form of the channel, which is influenced by the nature of the rocks over which it tumbles, and that vortices in the flow will trap bodies under the water close to the bed or the sides, whilst the turbulence will render someone unconscious very quickly. It's not a good place to play. Worst of all, because it looks so unthreatening, you can imagine someone carelessly attempting to jump the river and slipping into the water. Such a mistake is fatal, and easily made, given the slippery moss abundant around the river's bordering rocks. So now you've been warned. Would you still take the risk to take a dip in any of these bodies of water? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.
Fortnite is a game based on luck, and sometimes players can experience the worst luck ever. From dying underneath the map to riding an enemy's RPG, here are the unluckiest things to ever happen to Fortnite players. Toyski decides to use a vending machine to buy a purple scar, and less than 5 seconds later he dies from walking into a room with a trap. You can blame him for not paying attention and being careful, but at the same time, you gotta feel bad for the guy too. When players die, there's a futuristic-like thing that sort of disintegrates the dead player. Anyways, in Paradoxal's gameplay, we see that his shots are actually blocked by this thing. Numerous shots miss the guy he's shooting at because of that thing. It makes you wonder if this is a glitch or supposed to be done on purpose. Everyone has goals when they play Fortnite, and getting a 20-kill game is definitely on a lot of people's list. Furion Lowell was on the brink of achieving this after he headshots a guy for 199 damage, but instead of dying from the shot, the opposing player backs into the storm and dies from it.
Yeah.